What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video here on the Fantasy Fellowship channel. It's been a couple weeks since I've uploaded a video or gone live. I'm just taking some time off before we dive deep into the NFL offseason. So I hope you guys have been well. In this video, I'm going to review the teams that I won championships with in 2023. Now, I play in 4 money leagues, and I was able to win 3 out of the 4. And it's funny because the team that I actually thought I was going to win, I didn't win with that team. It was the other ones that did it. So if you guys want to skip ahead to the other leagues, basically the first league that we'll go over here, this is, I call it my old man league. It's a standard scoring league with defenses and kickers. And it's the only league I play in defenses and kickers with for money leagues. And I share with my brother. So we'll go over the standard league. And then I have 2 other leagues. They're both dynasty leagues, and they're full PPR, and they are both Superflex. So we'll look at those, and let's hop right into a screen share. Let's see. I'm rusty. I forgot how to do this. I'm taking 2 weeks off here. I've just been crazy busy with things, but here we go. This is a keeper league. I share this with my brother, Andrew. Our team was called the Two Stooges. It's been that way forever. And our record was 6-8 this year. So I think what's interesting and why I wanted to make this video is I wanted to see, if there's themes or certain recipes that make a team a champion. And looking here, like me and my brother, we were 6-8. If you look at just the standings overall, and it's one of those leagues that's got divisions and things like that. But in terms of points for, we ranked 3rd. And we had a good season. We just had a tough schedule. I guess in points allowed, yeah, we would have. I guess we had a decent schedule, but either way, we did score the 3rd most points. Ended up 6-8. We got in on the wild card. So I want to just make sure in all of your leagues going forward, whether it's 6 teams make the playoffs, I like 7 in 12-team leagues. Make sure you have at least 1 or 2 spots where the team gets in on points over record. You can see here we didn't have the best record, but we made it in on points, and we had a good finish to the season. So we did well there. And then I want to just review the team first, and then we'll kind of look at how we got to where we got. So quarterback Josh Allen, he's been our guy for the last 3 or 4 years. And side note real quick, this keeper team that I'm looking at right now with you guys, we've won 4 of the last 6 years with this team. So we kind of have a recipe for standard leagues that just seems to work, and we always find a way to get what we need. But anyways, Josh Allen, the number 1 QB, he averaged 20 points per game. In a standard league, QB is king. They can win or lose you your week. So Josh Allen, shout out to him. We ended up taking Breece Hall with our first pick in the keeper draft this year, and it turned out pretty good. Weren't really a big fan of Breece Hall up until the final playoff push here where he put up 16. The 1.2 was bad, but we got through with that score. And then a 27 and a 15 in the championship game here. So Breece Hall was our everyday running back 1 starter. We struggled with T. Higgins a lot, when he was healthy. We were kind of just hoping for some random numbers, but he did have a few spike games, which was nice. But we did have good receiver depth. We had Chris Olave, who he was one of our keepers. This league has a certain amount of keepers where you can keep 1 QB, you can keep 2 running backs or wide receivers. We chose to keep Chris Olave and T. Higgins. So we kept 2 receivers in a standard league. And then your tight end, you can keep 1 tight end. You can keep a tight end or a defense or a kicker. We always keep a tight end because we got big old Mark Andrews down here. But anyways, Chris Olave, we kept him. He was a fine wide receiver 2 all season. Doesn't score a lot of touchdowns, but I think he's developing into one of the better young receivers in the league, and I'm excited to have him on our keeper squad. Puka Nacua, this was kind of the theme, I think, for a lot of people this year. If you picked up Puka, Kieran, some of these other players that were starters all season long, I think Puka Nacua helped win us our league down the stretch here. He put up a 20-banger against the New Orleans Saints, his biggest game of his career. Also puts up another 100 yards against the Giants and has a nice game to end the season against the 49ers. So Puka Nacua, one of those guys that we added him for $10 in this waiver wire system here back in September 13th. So right after week 1, we didn't really have a lot of competition for him, but I just want to say adding through the waiver wire helped win us this championship. This was the starting roster for the championship. So you can see we added Puka. We also added Trey McBride, who, we had Mark Andrews. When Mark Andrews went down, we actually already had Trey McBride on the roster because no one picked him up. So we just decided to add him in case something happens. And hey, something did happen. So I think that's a lesson in itself there. Even though you have a Mark Andrews or someone else that's a stud starter, You should always be adding depth to your roster and making sure you guys have all your bases covered. Because basically, we just left Trey McBride in the entire way the rest of the season here, and sure, he had a couple nice boom games, had a couple floor games in here, but overall, we are very happy with Trey McBride as our tight end too. We had kind of a tough decision, don't you think, keeping Trey McBride or Mark Andrews next year? We did draft David Montgomery, who in a standard league, I was so all in on David Montgomery just because Jamal Williams had how many touchdowns the year before. I just thought David Montgomery would fall into the end zone almost every game, and he almost did. There's only 3 games where he did not score a touchdown, so he was our rock in this format. Getting 8 to 10 points per game. We just knew what we were getting with David Montgomery. Hats off to him, and good luck to the Lions this weekend. And then kickers and defense, man. What I do is we basically just played roulette with the defense. We would hold on to a defense for maybe 2 or 3 weeks and try and figure out someone that we can start for a little bit. We can also look ahead and see, oh, we're gonna like the Chiefs in 2-3 weeks here. So defense is always a revolving door for me. And then our kicker here, we actually didn't have Tyler Bass for most of the year. He was not a very great kicker, but he did get us 9 points. Who was our kicker most of the season here? Week 17, week 16. We had Evan McPherson for a good chunk of the year. He wasn't really playing great, but he did okay for the most part here. But we kind of, ran different kickers out there every now and then. But we primarily rotated defenses. I'm just trying to get to like week 15 when we were hoarding defenses. You can see we had the Saints for a little run here. We had let me see what else we had. I know there was 1 week where we had a bunch. We had the Lions, we had the Saints. I can even go back one more week here and see what we had. There was 1 week where we had multiple defenses, but our bench, Gabe Davis, Jalen Warren, AJ Dillon, Smith and Jigbo, we're constantly rotating the end of the bench and leaving the starters up there. Deontay Johnson was okay for us, not such a great standard league play. And then again, Mark Andrews down here. What's funny is we actually picked up Mark Andrews about 3 or 4 years ago off the waiver wire, and he's just been our keeper, since we've had him. So if you look at the construction of our team based on the draft recap here, let's take a look at this. We'll go by team. And the 2 Stooges over here, we'll kind of zoom into that. And can I move over? Why can't I move over? Well, anyways, we're over here on the far right of the screen here. As you can see, we kept Josh Allen, Mark Andrews, Olave, and T. Higgins. Our first pick was Breece Hall. Round 2, David Montgomery, Deontay Johnson, Gabe Davis. Those guys stayed on our team the entire year. We even held on to Gabe, even though he was 0 or a touchdown. Traylon Burks was a miss, but hey, Jalen Warren, we started Jalen Warren multiple times throughout the year just as a running back too. Saints D, we held on to them all season. Antonio Gibson, he was okay, but not such a great standard play, so we let him go early. We swung and missed on Marvin Mims, Jason Myers, Commanders defense. We didn't really have a lot of fun with some of these picks. So overall, I mean, we hit on Breece, Monty, and Jalen Warren. Our draft wasn't great. Josh Allen won us our league, and then again, it's the Pukas and the Trey McBrides that really came through and helped us get to where we needed to go. But I just want to show you guys the history real quick to just kind of prove it that we have won. So last year we did not win. 2022 we did take 3rd. That was one of our best seasons too. We were 10-4 that year. But then the year before, 2021, the 2 Stooges, champions in 2021, champions in 2020. Took a year off in 2019 just to give everybody a breather. And then 2018, we were champions again. So for the last 6 years in this league, very exciting. And I'm going to cut it, and we're going to go to my first ever Dynasty championship. This is a fun one. This is a 12-team Superflex league. My record, not great, 8-6, but we got in. In terms of points for, I was 5th. So I was truly a playoff team. If I look at points against here, I did have a fairly okay average schedule here. But we weren't an amazing team. In terms of record here, this is a 7-team playoff format. So we give the number 1 team the bye, and then everybody else is kind of duking it out in the playoffs. For the first round. But let's look at my team. And these rosters are a little unique. We're looking at 2 QBs. It's called OP and ESPN, but you get 2 QBs, 2 receivers, 2 running backs, a tight end, and 3 flexes. So this was the team that I ran out there in week 17. Derek Carr and Jordan Love with my QBs, man. I drafted Jordan Love maybe 3 years ago, and that required some patience to hold on to him, but he was basically an every week starter for me this entire season. You can see down here, I do have Trevor Lawrence. He's my third quarterback. And yes, this is a dynasty format, so we're holding on to these guys for the most part. But I was able to get Jahmyr Gibbs in the first round of the rookie draft. Kieran Williams, just another guy that I was able to pick up and ride to a fantasy championship. He was a plug and play top 3, top 4 RB for the rest of the season here from week 12 to 17. He might have been the number 1 running back in this scoring window here. Maybe Christian McCaffrey has something to say, but Kieran Williams definitely helped me win a championship with that 30-point game week 17. I had to start Elijah Moore. I'll show you guys the depth and why that was, but Elijah Moore actually played pretty well. I started him in the championship game, and I really didn't use him much of all season, but he's just one of the depth pieces, and I'm like, I'm going to play him against Joe Flacco on his squad and going up against his former team. Chris Godwin's just been a rock for me for the last few years. We actually drafted Gibbs and Laporta, so we got both hits on the Lions rookies. I got DJ Moore, I've got James Conner, and Zamir White, like a really good running back down the stretch here. 4 straight games of double-digit fantasy points, 13, 15, 14, and 17. Like, if the Raiders move on from Josh Jacobs, Zamir White looks like he could be someone of interest. And then you got Jordan Love down here as the QB. But let's look at my depth here and see how I got here. It was unfortunate. We lost Mike Williams right away early in the season. And then honestly, like, I don't have a lot of depth here, guys. You can see Jalen Waddle is a good player for me. Trevor Lawrence is a good player for me. Other than that, this team didn't really feel like a championship team. It just kind of happened to be that way, and we got hot at the end. I do like holding on to guys like Josh Palmer, Rashid Shaheed. I think Cade Otton's a decent low floor, high floor tight end kind of thing. Gus Edwards, he was a guy that I already had on my roster, and we kind of just held on to him, and we plugged him in, throughout the way. But man, we missed on Marvin Mims. AJ Dillon was startable for a good chunk here in October and into November, not so much at the end of the year. And then, we just had some slappies down here at the end of the bench. So we kind of backed into one here. I don't think this is a great team, but the lesson might be just, do your work, set your lineups, make sure you add players in the waiver wire, because I probably don't win many games without Kieran Williams. And he was the major waiver wire hit that I had on my team this year. If I just look at my roster real quick, I'm just curious to see of the players that I drafted. So only 1 free agency ad in my starting lineup. Everybody else was drafted. And you come on down here, and guys like Otten, Palmer, Rodriguez, Parker Washington, Drew Lock, these guys were all just added via free agency here. So I'm a real draft and develop guy. I don't like to make a lot of trades. And, there was a trade that I did with this team, and it was 2 years ago, the summer that Trey Lance was going to be the starting QB. I actually traded Trey Lance for Trevor Lawrence straight up I got a second round pick in that. So it turned out pretty good for us, but not the best looking team. This team right here, let me see these TDs, 12-2. He had a hell of a year. Hurts, McCaffrey, Lamb, Tyreek, Higgins, Devonta Smith. This team should have won, but hey, any given Sunday, you set your lineups and dreams do come true. We ended up scoring 202 points in this one. And like I said, I just got hot at the end of it all. We just got hot, and good things were rolling for us. If I look at my round 2 of the playoffs, I did score 155.22, just a solid score in a Superflex format. And then I did put up a nice week 15 score here. So again, the lesson I think for this one is, you never know, and just make sure you guys are adding players in the waiver wire and in free agency. That's one of the best ways to build. And then also, I think this team, I was supposed to be in a mini rebuilding. I thought this was a rebuilding season for this team. I didn't really have a lot of blue chip players that I thought I was going to make a run at. I thought I could maybe make the playoffs, but I didn't expect the success that we had. 8-6, I thought was a good, record. We'll get bounced in the first round, but hey, you keep setting the lineups and good things happen. And man, Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, this team's got some futures, and hopefully we can just land our first round picks in the coming draft here. But patience and free agency looked like the one here. And then let's go to I'll cut it here and we'll add a new stamp on the bottom here. But team number 2 that won a championship, we had a really good year in this one. We went 11-3 this season here. I have Sauron is the team name, fellowship themed, and we were the first seed. in this one here. 11-3. There was another 11-3 team. A couple other really good teams at the top. We led the league in scoring and points allowed. Like we technically had one of the easier schedules all year long, but what are you going to do here? 2189 total fantasy points here. And hey, let's look at the team and review what we had. First, I'm actually gonna look at the roster. I like looking at the roster because it kind of tells you how I made the team. So I am Sauron over here. It's got Dak Prescott at QB1, James Conner, David Montgomery at RB2. The receivers, Michael Pittman Jr., DK Metcalf. The tight end, David Njoku. The flexes in the starting lineup were Zamir White, T. Higgins, Isaiah Pacheco, and Patrick Mahomes. And you can see, like, we traded for a couple starting assets here. David Montgomery and Isaiah Pacheco both were. I moved a bunch of players to get Montgomery, Pacheco, and there's another guy involved in the trade. Let me see where he is. I got Keenan Allen in the trade too. So I ended up getting Keenan Allen, Pacheco, and David Montgomery. And I believe I sent Rashawn Johnson, Khalil Herbert, Brian Robinson, and maybe Tajay Spears. I sent 4 kind of younger RB prospects, and I just took the 2 proven ones, and I got Keenan Allen. So it did lead us to a championship. I don't advise, kind of going in all in on that, but I didn't really feel strong about those RB prospects. And I'm like, hey, Montgomery, Pacheco, those guys got some life in them yet, and we'll see what happens. So traded for 2 of my starters week 17. And this was a good team. Michael Pittman Jr., DK Metcalf, these guys are all players that I drafted and held on to. Looking at my bench, this team had a lot of bench options. Michael Gallup really wasn't one, but Cortland Sutton was in my lineup a lot. I had Raheem Mostert in my back pocket. Elijah Moore, we didn't really start him, but we were starting TJ Hawkinson all year. And then when he goes down, we pull in David Njoku, and that was pretty nice. Christian Watson didn't really start for this team. Jonathan Mingo didn't really start for this team. Kenneth Gainwell, I picked him up, I think, week 1 of free agency. But Jake Ferguson, man, like he was starting for this team a few weeks. Baker Mayfield, we subbed him in a couple times and he had a strong finish. Josh Palmer's down here. Keenan Allen was starting for most of our season. And then Demario Douglas. And for some reason, Chase Brown was available. So I ended up picking him up like the final 2 or 3 weeks. And he looked like a player that has some fun. And then Chris Rodriguez down here. So overall, like, I was able to pick up a Jake Ferguson. I was able to pick up a Baker Mayfield. And even though I didn't need these guys, I picked up Demario Douglas too, had a nice stretch. Even though I didn't need these guys, it just bolstered my depth. And this team was really deep. I was, at receiver, I could have pulled up Cortland Sutton, could have pulled up Keenan Allen, Watson if I needed it. At running back, I had Raheem Mostert. Didn't have a lot of running back depth here, but I did have a fun time setting this lineup every week because overall it was pretty deep. And you can see this team, I think the lesson would be to don't be afraid to kind of make those trades. I traded for David Montgomery. David Montgomery's maybe 26, 27 years old. He's in a good situation with Detroit. I know Jahmyr Gibbs is there, but man, I think David Montgomery's got a chance to continue doing what he's been doing. And then, the other player we traded, like Isaiah Pacheco, man, he's a good running back. And I don't think people valued him enough. I think I traded for him in this little slump right here. And when he was healthy, man, he was putting up 20 points, So I feel good about having Pacheco in a dynasty format. And then, of course, buying older players like Keenan Allen makes me a little bit nervous. But there's a lot of depth on this team. And I think the lesson would be to just continue building depth, make the trades when you need to make the trades. And for me, I like making trades, but I don't like sending away first-round picks. I try to always keep those. If I have to send a second, I will do so. But in the trade that we did in this league, I didn't have to move anything. So I feel pretty good about it. And hey, I think this team set up to continue competing in the future here. And guess what, guys? I do believe so. ESPN's is not a good dynasty format here, but we just like doing it on ESPN, so we used ESPN. But our 2024 draft, I log it all in a spreadsheet, and that's how we do our drafts. But I do have the number 1 overall pick from a trade I made a year ago. So, I got Dak, I got Mahomes, I got Baker. Do I take? It's Superflex league, so I probably have to take Caleb Williams here, and I'll see what I can do. But I kind of want Marvin Harrison Jr. Not sure what I'll do yet, but a lot of fun playing dynasty leagues here. And then I just want to show you guys real quick the redraft team that I thought I was going to win the championship with. This was the squad. Dak, this is a super flex squad, full PPR. Dak, Monty, Pacheco, CeeDee Lamb, Puka, Ferguson, Jamar Chase, DK Metcalf, and Brock Purdy. Yeah, it was a really freaking good team. And we got bounced in the first round of the playoffs, I believe, because that's the week that Dallas went to Buffalo and my season ended. So that was a rough one. I thought this was my best team that had a chance to win a championship. But oh well, what are you going to do? But hey, if you guys enjoyed this video and have any thoughts and comments on the teams that I won championships with, please let me know in the comments. If you guys took anything away that I might have missed, please, like I'm open to hearing your thoughts as well. And right now, like it's kind of the downtime for me. We just had a gauntlet of fantasy football content through the entire season and the summer leading up to it. So I kind of take a break a little bit in January, and I'll start ramping up here in videos again. I do want to start putting out some mock drafts. So I think one of these nights we'll hang out live and do a live stream where I'm just doing just simulating some first round mock drafts of the NFL draft, and then I do want to do some Packer content where I do some Packer mock drafts. So we'll get some of that stuff in there. But any other ideas for videos? Let me know. There's going to be Dynasty content coming out very soon. But again, I just kind of wanted to wait until we get past the conference championship games, and then the content will start rolling again. So thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day, morning, evening, whatever you need, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.